Hey, Scott from MrToolHunter.com here, and yes, I've simplified my URL just for you. I'm in the shop and I thought, today I'm going to cover the new WoodRiver offset gauge, which is very similar to a tool that I've been using almost daily for, it's got to be almost 30 years. And then I realized I've never shared that tool with you. So I'm thinking we're going to start with a discussion of the Incra Gauge from Taylor Design Group. These are the folks that make the Incra Jig products. This is something that I absolutely could not live without in my shop. So I want to show this to you first, and then we'll get on to the WoodRiver product. So the Incra Gauge, not unlike the other Incra tools, has within it a rack that has a number of teeth. And you can see those teeth right here. And if we flip this piece over, you'll notice that it's an identical matching piece also with teeth. When we put those teeth together, it locks the two sides firmly together. Now you can see over here it says edge distance and has measurements in inches. And if we flip this over, it says edge distance and has measurements in inches. So you can use this very similar to a marking gauge by moving it to the desired distance here and then using that to measure in from your stock if we were measuring wood. And with this you can make a line, or you can actually draw this along the edge with your pencil. I'll do that here. It takes two hands to accomplish that. So just like a standard marking gauge. Now, unlike a standard marking gauge, this has got a huge reach. You can see right there, we go out to 7 inches. All right. In addition to that, if I slide this over this direction, covering up the word marking gauge and flipping it over, it says height. And again, we have inch dimensions. So we can stand this up. For example, here on my table saw, I could stand this up and use that to set the height of my blade. And I'll show you that in a close-up in just a moment. Great for router bits, shaper cutters, table saw, dados, things like that. Another neat little feature of this is it has a center finder built into it for finding the center of your stock. You take this, straddle the edge of your board, and the center of that V is the center of the stock. And again, with a couple hands and a little bit of practice, whoops, you can slide that along the stock and find the center for doweling and other joinery. All right, so again, it's a great layout tool. But what I like it for most of all, and where I use it a lot, is setting up the fence on my table saw. So let's say that I want to make a 2-inch rip on the table saw. In most cases, I'm not cutting to exactly 2 inches because I plan on running that board across the jointer. So I'm going to measure not from here to here, my fence to my blade, but I'm going to put the blade on the back side of this, which will add 1/8 of an inch to my stock material, which will give me 2 passes on the joiner at a 1/16 of an inch. So let me show you how that works. So you might imagine it can be difficult to get the edge here aligned with the fence and the inside edge aligned with the side of the blade. So again, instead what we're going to do is we're going to measure from here to the back side of this jig. We'll just move the fence over. Now, if you're really lucky like I am, you have a shopsmith and you can actually move the blade. So I can just get the fence close and bring the blade over and lock it tight in place. Now, let's say you wanted to cut that exactly 2 inches. Fine, you would set this for an 1/8 inch less than your final dimension, and again, measure to the back side of that face. One concern I had years ago when I first got this tool was I thought, well, if I'm measuring from the edge of the board and marking with a pencil or a scratch awl, then I also have to accommodate for the size of my pencil. And that, again, is the beauty of this gauge. The face of this right here has a very slight bevel, which gives you enough additional space to accommodate a sharpened number 2 pencil. I use a mechanical pencil in my shop most days, and it works just great with that. Now, to use the Incra Gauge to set the height of a dado blade, saw blade, router bit, I'm going to make sure that I have one of the teeth facing the top, so I'm actually measuring to that. And it will appear to you as if I am now raising the blade. I'm actually lowering the table on my shopsmith, and you'll see that it's hit the gauge. Now, the gauge is starting to tilt back. You can't see it from your point of view, but I can. I'll adjust that until the gauge is just standing upright and is touching that top tooth, and that is now set to the proper height. And now that brings us back to the new WoodRiver marking gauge. A couple things about this that I like. First off, it's much more compact than the Incra Gauge. Therefore, if I'm going to put this in an apron pocket or a coat pocket or a tool box or bag, it is going to take up less space. Another thing about it that I do like is I work in both inches and millimeters, and this has got both an inch scale built into it and a millimeter scale. Now, you are now seeing a problem I have with it, and that is because it's dark, it's very hard to read. There we go, we got some light on it. You can see a little bit better. It's difficult to read. Additionally, it does not have the locking racks on it. So once you get this in position, you got to hold it carefully while you lock it and then double check. I found with this one, it wanted to slip a little bit. It would benefit from the addition of a washer under here so that the tightening action doesn't cause it to slide. The Incra Gauge has a little nylon washer, though it probably doesn't even need it on that. Anyway, this can be used for measuring height, just like the Incra Gauge. It can be used to measure the edge distance, again, like the Incra Gauge. All right. Its size, though, limits you to a little, looks like it's measuring out to about 4 inches maximum here. One other feature that they added to it that the Incra Gauge does not have is they put a rare earth magnet on each end of it. And the idea for this is you might use that magnet to attach it to your fence while making a measurement. I got a couple problems with that. My fence is aluminum. My table is aluminum. My insert is either aluminum or plastic. Biesmeyer fences, the Unifence, you name it, most fences are not ferrous. So I'm not sure how handy that rare earth magnet is going to be. But anyway, there you have it. The WoodRiver offset gauge from Woodcraft and the Incra Gauge from Taylor Design Group, also available from Woodcraft. So which one do I recommend? Absolutely without reservation, I recommend an Incra Gauge. But if you see anything here that makes sense to you, then you know where to find that as well. Hey, visit MrToolHunter.com. It's my blog with woodworking tools primarily. Most of what you're going to find there is shopsmith related. We'll go from there.